On October 18th, about 70,000 taxi drivers gathered in central Seoul to protest the launch of a new ride-sharing service by Kakao Mobility, a division of Korea's biggest messenger service provider, Kakao. Utilizing its extremely high penetration rate among the Korean public, Kakao Mobility is planning to connect automobile owners and passengers. The fare will be about 40% lower than taking a traditional taxi. While most taxi drivers express anger over the new service that will take away their opportunities, the public's reaction is pretty mixed. It's true that grabbing a cab in crowded areas during rush hour or around midnight is very difficult. For those who had the experience of standing on the street for about an hour waiting for a cab, any move that will ease the chance of catching a ride anytime, anywhere will be welcomed. At least for now, that's also the rationale for Kakao, whose ride-sharing will eat away at the income of taxi drivers. Conflict between IT companies and the taxi drivers isn't just happening in Korea. We hear news reports about similar issues involving Uber, the world's biggest transportation network company that boasts more than $70 billion in valuation. Experts point out that the issue is just a part of a bigger change. With the advent of the sharing economy based on telecommunication technologies, products and services may not be purchased but can be shared, leading to the replacement of existing businesses. Ride-sharing may replace taxi service, peer-to-peer banking may substitute for traditional banks, house sharing may trump the hotel business, book swapping may overtake bookstores, etc. The difficult task of striking a balance between maximizing the benefits of the citizens and protecting the livelihood of the taxi drivers is now in the hands of the government. Currently, ride-sharing is allowed only during rush hour. As time goes by, the app will be available at any time, which threatens the survival of taxi drivers. So I said ride-sharing. So, we're talking about ride-sharing versus carpooling. The ride-sharing industry is what we call Uber and Lyft. Carpooling is a little bit different. Carpooling would mean if you and one of your coworkers lived close to each other, you would take turns driving into work. One guy would go Monday, the other guy would go Tuesday, etc. We also use the carpool lane. We call it the HOV lane, or high occupancy vehicle lane. It means when you have more than two people in the car, you can ride in the carpool lane. It's kind of an express lane on the left side of a highway. And then we said ride sharing will be only allowed during rush hour. So rush hour means kind of peak commuting times to and from work. So that's usually around, if you look at Seoul, like 7:30 to 9:30, that would be rush hour. It's kind of a singular noun. We don't say rush hours, we say rush hour. And it would also apply at night. So like from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, that is what we call rush hour, the busiest times when people go from home to work or vice versa. The future of the taxicab industry is at stake because soon the ride-sharing services will run full-time without restrictions. So I said the future of the taxicab industry is at stake. So if something is at stake, it is at risk. Either it's going to succeed or fail. So if something is at stake, that means it's something is going to be risked, and it will either do well or not do well. We cannot avoid advancements in technology, and changes in the labor force are expected. The government should assist in the transition for these taxi drivers. So I said there'll be changes in the labor force. So, economic conditions of the transportation industry will change. So we use the word labor force or workforce of a certain company or industry. It just means the amount of people working in that industry. The government needs to step in and help the taxi drivers who may lose their jobs eventually. A sudden change in the industry can cause a lot of financial problems for people related to the industry in the future. So I said the government needs to step in and help. I think we covered this in a previous lesson, but if someone steps into a situation, it means they're trying to help solve a problem between two or more people. So if you have two people fighting in the office, the boss is probably going to step in and talk to both sides and try to maybe negotiate peace. Or if you have two countries at war, the UN would step in and try to do something. So to step in means to come into a process and try to either stop the fighting or resolve it. Ride sharing will improve transportation and create a competitive environment where taxi cab companies will have to step up their game in order to compete. This will improve conditions for riders. So I said taxi cab companies will have to step up their game. It's originally comes from sports. So for example, if I'm playing first base at a baseball team and a better first baseman comes in, that man will get the spot to play first base. If I would like to play first base again, I have to improve myself. I have to be a better player. I've got to be faster and stronger and smarter than the other first baseman. So improving myself, I have to step up my game. So we apply that to business as well. So, currently taxi cabs, they won't pick you up. They won't take you where you want to go. They'll take you the long way around. They'll cheat you out of money. The taxi cab companies, they're not doing a very good job. However, if you're competing with someone who wants to make money and wants to service people, those people are going to do better than the taxi cabs. So the taxi cabs have to step up their game. They have to improve themselves in order to be competitive. The state of the current taxi system is in shambles. Drivers choose who they want to pick up, where they want to go, and at what time. Ride sharing will solve the majority of problems. The demands of a free market must always come first in a service industry. So I said the state of the current taxi system is in shambles. Shambles means it's not working, disorderly. It's in a really bad condition. So like, for example, if a couple fights a lot, the relationship is in shambles. Or if a company is not doing well, we can say it's in shambles. So that's what the current state of the taxi system is like in Korea. And then I finally said the demands of a free market must always come first in a service industry. So we talk about the free market. It allows businesses to operate, but the consumer gets to choose what the best option is, rather than if the government steps in and tells you what the best option is, the consumers will choose. That's a free market. And it must always come first in a service industry. So if you think about service industries or services, you can think about things like restaurants, taxi cab services, accounting services, lawyers. You want to pick the best service for you. So in a service industry, the customer decides. And if you're not doing well in a service industry, customers will take their money and go elsewhere. The constant advancement and changes in technology are changing the fabric of our being. We cannot ignore these advancements if we want to stay competitive. So I said it's changing the fabric of our being. The fabric of something is kind of the basic things that are made up of something larger. So kind of like if you think of clothing, the fabrics are the little strings of cotton, but you have a huge amount of cotton or fabric around you in a jacket or shirt. So your fabric of your being is kind of what kind of composes your daily life, law is kind of a fabric of society. Order is a fabric of society. So, the fabric of our being now is we use our smartphone for everything. We use it for banking, shopping, navigation, communication. So our smartphone is like our fabric of our being. So our technology has kind of become one of like a human fundamental almost. So that's the kind of fabric of our being. As technology is reshaping our society and how we behave, we need to adapt or die. So the option of kind of adapting or dying goes back to Charles Darwin. He said it was kind of the strongest will survive. He didn't necessarily say that. He said those who can adapt will survive. So those who can change their environment will be able to survive and succeed. So we kind of have an expression in business, you must adapt or die. It means you change yourself to the environment or you go out of business. Thanks for downloading, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.